So we're kicking off getting into the more detail about the livestock production assurance program, and just recapping on what Kathleen's covered is that the LPA is our on-farm assurance program, and it covers the food safety, animal welfare and biosecurity components, and we'll outline, I guess, in a bit more detail how the program then provides that evidence of that history of food safety, welfare and biosecurity, and how those animals have been treated on farm. So your on-farm practices through the with the livestock, and how that information and evidence is transferred through the value chain, and what your role is as a producer to do that. But the majority of Australian red meat processors do require that livestock is sourced from LPA accredited properties. So when you're LPA accredited, that means you have the maximum range of markets that you can access. And it does also mean that you have made a commitment, and I think Kathleen mentioned this just before. So there is a commitment in there to be accredited, and you commit to carrying out on-farm practices that support the integrity of the system, and that is verified when you sign your LPA NBDs for livestock movements. So I guess right up front, we just want to stress that the NBD is a legal declaration, so it is really important that you understand what you've committed to, what you're signing, and that you know what the requirements are for your records that back up that signature on that NBD. And that's we'll cover a bit more of that tonight, and also in next Tuesday's webinar. So there is a fairly busy diagram on the right-hand side of the slide, and I don't expect you to sort of take it all in, but we will give you access to that post the webinar. But we have tried to make a big effort to show people how it's all connected, because we do all these bits and pieces. We're going to talk about all the bits of things that you're going to do for LPA, and what you do for NLAS. But the really important thing, and I think this is sort of expanding out on that slide Kathleen showed earlier, those touch points of the PIC, the NBD and the record keeping, and then all of those things that you're going to do as a producer are really all linked. And I know often we feel like they're just, you've got to do this for this and this for that, and how does this all fit together? So that diagram is really trying to show you how this system does actually pull together. But tonight we're going to talk about the LPA side of the system and what you need to do to meet your requirements. And there are around 180,000 accredited PICs in the program. So there's 180,000 properties that are meeting their requirements and having to do these things. So like first up, it's really important that you keep your online account details up to date. So I think we're all pretty aware these days of how important it is that your address, your phone number, your email, all that is current for things, because if that gets out of date, then you can miss out on meeting requirements, or doing your accreditation on time and things like that. So it's really important you keep your account details up to date, and you do need to renew your accreditation every 3 years. So most people now, the majority of all our LPA accredited producers have gone through their accreditation once. From when the new system came out. So some of you may have already done your accreditation twice. So so it's 3 years is a bit of time between visiting back to that, going through that process, but it does come around every 3 years. So you need to make sure that you're aware of that. In the meantime, in between accreditations, you do need to meet those requirements. So that means managing your property and your livestock according to those requirements, and we're going to run through those in more detail, and keeping those records that you need to keep as evidence that you are meeting those requirements. We're not going to talk about audits tonight, but that we will talk about that next week. But that is the sort of the final part of LPA, is making sure that you're doing everything, and that when you're requested to participate in audit, you've got everything there ready to go. So I had planned that I was going to do a live login and run through things, and then my internet wasn't the greatest today, and I thought that's a bit risky. So instead of doing a live run through, I'm going to show you the steps of accessing, how to access and use your LPA account. And I guess, as we mentioned earlier, one of the first things that we're going to talk about is how to create a MyMLA or access a MyMLA account if you've already created one. We're going to have a look at the LPA homepage, what the LPA, where the LPA learning sits within the LPA website, what accreditation looks like if you haven't, it's just changed. There's been a few changes from the 1st of July, so I just want to get you up to speed with those. Just remind you, if you are still ordering the hard copy MBD books, where you go, and there's also been a few changes around what's available. And then the new feature of how to save records in your LPA account. So I guess if you haven't looked at your LPA account for a while, here's a bit of a refresher for you. And if you've never been there, well, this is all new. So if you do have a MyMLA account and you're really familiar with it and you're using it to access LPA, that's excellent. If you haven't been into your account for a while, or you've never accessed your LPA account, from the 1st of July, there's a new way to access LPA, and that is through MyMLA. Now, MyMLA is a consolidation of all the products and services that MLA offers, and it's really trying to simplify things for people so that you can just go to one place and that's where you're going to access everything. So it might take a little bit to get used to if you're not been using it, but once you've set up MyMLA and you use that to access everything, I think you'll find it's a great time saver for you. So just go into the next slide. So whatever URL or web link you're using to get to LPA, don't be surprised that the first screen you come to is going to say welcome to MyMLA. So if you have a MyMLA account, log in. If you've clicked login, if you've forgotten your password, then it comes up with the option to reset your password. But if you don't have a MyMLA account, bit of a tongue twister, you click sign up, and then it goes through a process. And this is sort of the first step in the process. So you use your email address, you click sign up, it sends you an email to verify, and then you have to fill in a bit more information, and then you get your account set up. Once your account is set up, then there's a process of linking your integrity accounts, and that includes LPA. It also includes NLIS, MSA, and LDL if you're in those programs. But the first page, and if you haven't been into MyMLA for a while, but you do have an account, you'll notice it's a bit different. So once you've gone through the process of linking your accounts, you can either go to this little section up the top to access them, which is how it always has been, or now there's this new catalogue of, and it goes further down the page than that, of where you can access not just integrity and feedback accounts, but all of these other options now. So it's everything on that one page. And once you click this little drop down button, that's what it expands out to, and this is access the NVDs, buy your books, blah blah blah. All of those things come up, and you can just click on those links to get straight through. The other great thing about MyMLA is it does let you set up the customized dashboard. So I couldn't show you the whole screen on that previous page, but if you'd scroll down, then this dashboard sits down there, and you can customize that to, this is set to Delanal where I live, so I can have a look at the weather here. You can have a look at the whatever markets you might be following. All of these are little gadgets and widgets and things that you can customize to whatever you want to look at. So it is a handy little dashboard to give you the information you're after. So once you've clicked on that you want to get through to LPA, you get this screen saying redirecting to LPA. Now, if you've just got one LPA account, you'll just have the one pick and user ID come up, and you can click on that. Or if you've got more than one, you'll have to select the one you want to work with. And then you'll get to the home screen, which has an option to get back to the MyMLA dashboard, and it's got all your menu items up here. Now, if you haven't been in for a while, if your accreditation is due, then you're probably going to have some alerts sitting up at the top. So these alerts, most of them are dismissible. So once you've had a look at them, you can just click the little X and say, yep, I've read that. I don't need to have that sitting on my homepage anymore. But the ones that don't have the little X mean that you have to do something to get rid of them. And the main one is that your accreditation is due. So I've just taken this off one of our test accounts. And once your accreditation is overdue, the only way that you can then access anything else in the account is to complete that accreditation. Just excuse me. So that's how you deal with the alerts. This one, some people come in and find that they haven't completed animal welfare training, and we'll talk about that soon, but that is something that you do need to do because it is required for an audit. So you don't have to do it immediately, but it's just going to sit there until you've completed that, reminding you that that's something that you need to do. So the account page, that if you click on the menu item at the top that says account, you'll come to this page where all your details are, and this is where you do need to make sure that you have all your details up to date. So we're also now requiring an ABN just so that we can verify, cross-verify things. And if you don't have an ABN or you're not sure of your ABN at the time, you will need to say this. You will need to tick this box to say that you don't have one. But down the bottom of this page is the option to update your details. And these are all the other sort of regular account options that are there, like changing your password. You can look at what you've purchased, any communications history you've had with ISC, certificates you've been issued, other programs you belong to. If you have a third-party authorization, so someone else might be accessing your LPA account. If you want to leave LPA, if you have corrective action requests from an audit, or record keeping, which we'll talk about soon. So if you are coming in to do your accreditation, this is something that's going to be new. This is the page you come to, and it's basically telling you to do your accreditation, you need to review the learning, these are the learning modules for LPA. And then you need to complete the assessment, which is over here, and then you complete the declaration and make the payment. So when you come in, these are all the learning modules. You click on each one of these, it opens up into a module where you work your way through the questions and answering. As you work your way through the modules, when you complete them, you get a blue tick in each of these boxes to show that you've completed the learning. And you don't have to complete the learning to go and do the assessment. It's really highly recommended. It is required if you are a brand new accreditation, but you must complete this one. It's not going to force you to do it, but it is required if you get audited. You do need to show that you've gone through that module, because that is the training to show that you understand your requirements under animal welfare. And if you don't do it, you're going to get that alert on your homepage permanently sitting there saying you haven't done this yet. So make sure you do that one. Come over to the assessment and declaration. You've got this little thing here now saying go digital with ENVD. If you click learn more, it's going to pop out this box saying you're not yet eligible for a digital discount, and this is the option that's coming up with your accreditation now. But basically, if you do want to have a cheaper accreditation, you need to access ENVD. So you're only going to get this coming up on your accreditation page if you've never used ENVD before. If you've used ENVD, this won't come up. But if it does come up, just click through, follow the prompt, access ENVD, have a play around, create a draft consignment. And then if you come back to this page after creating a draft assignment in ENVD, then when you get to the part where you need to pay your accreditation fee, you will have the option to access the discount. So there are two prices for accreditation now. So if you choose to go digital and access ENVDs, then you're paying $60 without GST plus GST. Or if you choose to not take that option, that you don't want to, you don't want to use ENVD ever, then you'll need to go with this option, which is $90, and that's sticking with the paper-based hard copy books. So I really, really encourage you all. It doesn't mean that you have to use the NBD for every consignment. It just means you need to give it a go. And have a look in there and create a draft, and hopefully use it for some of your consignments. And then once you have a go at it a few times, I think you'll find how helpful it is, and it saves all the details in there. So they're the two options, and this is what, if you've never gone into your ENBD part of LPA, this is what it looks like. So these are some consignments that are sitting there. If you've never been there before, it's going to be empty, and then you just go create a new consignment, follow the prompts through, and create a draft. So this is what your page looks like, your learning page looks like when you've completed all your learnings. You get these nice big ticks all the way down, and it tells you that your assessment and declaration have been completed, and you're not due, till the next date. So that's great. And in the meantime, you can come back and click through these modules anytime you like. They're also available from the ISC website. So if you have staff or other people in the business that you want to do the learning modules and you don't want to log back into your LPA account, you can always access all of these learning modules through the ISC website. But this is where the record is kept of whether your business has completed the learning or not. So as I said, there are some changes from the 1st of July to our NBDs. So if you do choose to continue using hard copy books, you now have two size books that you can order. So you can order books of 20 or books of 10. And if you're also MSA accredited, your MSA declarations are now included in your LPA NBD books. So you just get them, they're free. And so you pay the same price whether they're LPA and MSA or just NBDs. So you get those in two sizes as well. Now, if you do decide to become MSA and you're not already, just make sure you get your MSA accreditation done before you go and order the book, because if you don't, then you'll have to buy the MSA declarations. Like if you've already paid for your MBD book and then you go and do your declaration, your MSA accreditation, and then come back in, you'll have to then buy another book. So if you're going to do your accreditation, you're thinking about MSA, do it at the start before so you can get this free option of your MSA decks. Otherwise, you'll have to purchase a separate MSA declaration book. Okay, so that was a pretty quick look at what the website looks like, and all of the website, the whole reason it's there and those learnings is to make sure that you can demonstrate that you're meeting the requirements for LPA. And as we've said a few times, we're going to talk about the first three tonight, which is property risk assessment, safe and responsible animal treatments, and stock foods, fodder crop, grain and pasture treatments. And all of the requirements for all of the requirement areas are outlined in the ISC on the ISC website, and there's also a link to the guidebook. And also, as I've said, the LPA learning takes you through all the detail that's required. So we've mentioned it a few times, but for every requirement area, as we talk about them, we're going to talk about the record keeping, because that's how you demonstrate that you're doing it. So you need to be doing it, but you also need to be recording it so that you can show that you're doing it. And as it says on the screen there is no perfect formula, because as a beef extension officer, that was probably one of the most common questions people asked me was, please tell me the best way to keep my records. And there really is no best way. The best way is that's one that's going to work for you, because everyone has different sort of methods of doing things, but the important thing is that you have a method and that you make sure that you are keeping the information that you need to. I guess, like a lot of farmer producers like having a pocket notebook, and that's fine. But I guess I always used to say, well, it's when you need to think about when you're audited, how are you going to retrieve that information? So and a lot of those pocket notebooks are really well organized and managed and stored and filed, but if they're not, and you find it hard, you're going to find it hard to retrieve that information when you need it, then you might need to think about just transferring some of the important stuff into a diary or some other system, or the LPA templates that we're going to show you. So I guess, and also part of recording is that you need to record, you know, when staff are trained and when you complete inductions. So it's good to think about the full suite of records that you need to keep. But we will run through in detail sort of the records that you keep for those first three requirements that we're going to cover. And before I move on from that slide, I do need to mention we have a little insight, an integrity insight we call them. So just a bit of extra information. We do have the templates that align to these, to the 7 areas. And you can download the record keeping templates both from the ISC and the LPA website, and they're free. And you can also order a hard copy of the template, the whole booklet that has all of the templates in them. And part of accreditation now is, and this has just come in from the 1st of July, when you complete your accreditation, if you want a hard copy, and you can actually access a hard copy of the record keeping booklet and the guidebook for free once every 3 years, so once every time you do your accreditation. But if you require extra copies, they are at a cost, but of course you could always download it and print it yourself. So I did say I was going to talk about digital record keeping. So one of the things that has happened in the LPA website in the last 12 months is that you can now upload your records into your LPA account. So, you know, going from something that a website that you might only go to once every 3 years because you're doing your accreditation, or maybe you use it, you do go to your LPA account a bit more often because that's where you order your NVD books, or you go there regularly because that's where you're completing your ENVDs, and that's excellent. Now you can also go there and you can save and store your LPA records and documents. So the great benefit of this really is that you get to keep all of those records in one location. They're saved in the cloud. It's very secure. So if you know, we've got really good security on all our systems. You can retrieve them at any time. And then if you do get audited, it wouldn't matter where you were, you could access those records and be able to participate in that audit easily. We do have a fact sheet on how to upload records into your account, and there's a link there, but we will provide it. And the thing that's really cool is that property risk assessments and farm biosecurity plans, which are records that you probably only complete annually, like you do it once and then you need to review it annually. Those records can be completed entirely digitally, and I'll show you how we do that in a bit in the next few slides. So this is what your LPA account looks like when you logged into your account. You need to go, as I said, from your account page down to this record keeping link. Click on that, and this page will pop up, and it will say, do you want to add a record? And these are the 2 records you can complete completely digitally, but you can also still upload whatever. If you've already got a biosecurity plan and you want to use that on paper, or you've already got a property risk assessment and you want to use that, then you can definitely still upload them, or you can complete them digitally, which I'll show you in a minute. And then if you hit this drop down arrow here, it goes all the way down here. There's all the different records that you can add, and you just click which one you want. So this one is your animal welfare certificate. You can just click add record, and then it goes through the option of how you upload that. Once you've uploaded a record, you can search for them. So you can search through all the records that you've uploaded in the past. You can delete them, you can edit them. You know, if you've started them and you haven't finished them, they sit here in progress, so that it's quite flexible. And yeah, I encourage you to jump in and have a look and have a play. Like, you're not going to do anything wrong, you're not going to break it. And if you upload something and it's the wrong thing, you can just delete it out.